Hello everyone, in this video we're going to make a basic scheduler within Spring Boot. So it's really nice in Spring Boot that it gives us the functionality to set up a scheduler quite easily by scheduling a method to be able to be called given an amount of milliseconds or as a cron job. So if you didn't have this type of functionality in your language, you'd have to set up a scheduler yourself, which would start a timer, and then once that timer was set to a particular amount of time, maybe 5 minutes or maybe 20 seconds, it would then go and call a method or check a method's status. But within Spring Boot, it's super simple just by using an annotation. So to set this up, this is my default Spring Boot application that I've created. I've made another video on this before, on where I went to the Spring Initializer website and I got all this boilerplate set up for me. So if you don't have your Spring Boot application up and running, then I would suggest to go and look at that. But otherwise, let's jump into starting our scheduler. So we're going to create a new package for this as well. So I'm just going to select new package and I'm going to call it scheduler. So once we have our package created, we're going to create a class, and this class is going to be called the exact same thing. We're going to call it scheduler. Then need to go and annotate our scheduler class with an annotation that says enable scheduling. So to do that, we're just going to go and say at and then type in enable scheduling. It's just something that you have to put at the start of your class when you're going to have a scheduler method inside your class. We're also going to annotate this with at component because we want this to be a component, so when Spring Boot starts up, that it's going to look at our class and see that, oh, we want this to be a component, we want it to be a bean, and it will then go and allow us to schedule our method to be called given whatever number of milliseconds we'll give it. It could be 5,000, it could be 2,000. So what we're going to do now is we're going to just go and create a logger, because that's how we're going to go and test our scheduler and make sure it works. So to do that, we're just going to say logger like this, and we're going to import that. That's the right logger. And then we're just going to call our logger the same name, logger, with a lowercase. I'm going to set that equal to the logger factory, and that's the one we want. And we're going to just get logger, and now we're going to have to pass in the name of the class. So this is going to be our scheduler dot class. So now that we've got that, put our semicolon at the end. Is there something that it doesn't like about this class? Is that the right logging? That's not the right logger. So if I go hit Alt Enter, that's the right logger. So if you're doing it and you're having problems with the logger or the logger factory, make sure that you're using these imports here. So once we've got that, we can actually go and create our method now. So this method can be called anything. So we could say public void, because it's not going to return anything, and we literally could call our method anything. It doesn't matter. So we're going to have our opening brackets. It's not going to take in any parameters either. It's just going to go and do something. So if you're creating your scheduler, you may want it to take in or pull in some values from somewhere, or you might want your scheduler to call multiple other methods to check things. But in this example, our scheduler is just going to be called, and it's going to go and log out something to the screen. So we could do something like system.out.println, and we could say print something like this, and that would print something. But since we have got our logger, we're going to use our logger, and we're going to just say that there's an error message. Now there's not actually going to be an error message, but we're going to say this is our error message. So okay, there we go. That's a bit better. So now that we've got that, we need to go and annotate this to be scheduled. So just say at and then type scheduled, and then we need to define how long we want to wait for this method to be called. So we could say we want a fixed delay of 5,000. So this would be 5,000 milliseconds. So every 5 seconds we should see this and this being displayed. So let's go and run this and see if that is indeed what we see. So we can change this here, this fixed delay, which is 5,000. We can change this to whatever we want. So you can see print something, and you can see this error here that says this is our error message, this is being displayed, and you can see it's been done again. So you can see that it was done at 50, it was done at 55, the next one should be on the top of the hour, and then this will be 5 seconds after, the next one should be 10, whenever it comes in, yeah, it's 10. So this might be a bit, this might be not enough, so we could change it to every 2 seconds, which would be like this. So if we stop our application and rerun it again, rather than this being displayed out every 5 seconds, it should be every 2. So now we see it was at 29, it's at 31, 33, it should be 35 next, 37, and so on and so on. You see, it's 37. Now there is an other option. So rather than having a fixed delay of something, some value, we could get rid of this and we could say that we want a cron job to run. So a cron would be, we know we want it to run maybe twice every half an hour, or we want it to run at 2 o'clock in the morning every day, or something like that. Now we're not going to test out something that runs every half an hour or every day, but we're going to test something that will run every second, or maybe every 2 seconds. So what we can do is we can just put in asterisks here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think that's right. Along with a space and a question mark. And if we go and rerun this again, this should run every second if my calculation is right. It's been a while since I used cron jobs, but for example, this should run every second, which it looks to be 43, 44, 45. Yeah, it looks to be every second. So we could change this to, let's say, maybe divide by 2, and then it should go to every 2 seconds. So we're just going to stop that and rerun it again, and we've got 8, 10, should be 12, 14, yeah. So that's working as well. Now you can imagine, rather than having, let's say, a 2 here, you could have it customizable so that you'd have an integer up here at the start of your class, which would be something that you'd have a getter and setter for, that you could go and change, or you could go and use the other previous way of having the fixed delay. So I'll just go and put that back in here. I'm going to just copy that, and I'm going to comment it out for now. So this would be your other option. So you wouldn't have a cron, you would have the fixed delay, and this could be whatever you want. And just make sure when you do make a change to this, so either the cron or the delay, that you'll need to rerun your application every time for it to take effect. And that's pretty much it. You can be as creative as you want with your scheduler. You can get it to call other methods, or maybe it's just something that you can call within the method, and within that method you can do whatever it is. Maybe it's to go and check the status of other objects and then report an error or report an alarm if there's something that's out of the ordinary. But that's how you set up a scheduler in Spring Boot. It's pretty easy. You just use your scheduler annotation. There's just a couple of things to make sure that the class is scheduling enabled, make sure it's a component, And that's pretty much it. I hope you gained something from the video. If you did like it, leave a like, subscribe, and have a good day.